Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like the Menace Among Us. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be up in space in a space vessel. And the air and the oxygen in the ship is going to be dwindling and leaking out. Now some of us are trying to fix those and repair those and bring the air up and bring the energy back up on the ship. But some of us are imposters as the Menace, hiding and trying to sabotage the ship and kill the crew members. Today, we're talking about this game of intrigue in space called The Menace Among Us. It's brought to us by Smirk and Dagger Games. Let me show you how it works. I'll see you on the other side. The Menace Among Us is a semi-cooperative game of intrigue and survival in deep space for 4 to 8 players, where you have a secret agenda at the beginning of the game and you get to select a character which has specific cards that they can use and some special abilities. In this game, there's 2 sides. The crew, which is the good side, Menace, which is the bad side. The crew is trying to get this energy all the way up to 100%. If they do so, they win. Now there's also availability to possibly kill other players. If you kill all of the bad guys, the menaces, then as soon as you get this past this line, the good guys, the crew, will win. Now the menaces are trying to get this oxygen depleted all the way down to 0%, or they also win if all of the crew members are killed. All the crew is going to have their main goal, which we just went over, which was getting that energy all the way to the energy goal, and they're going to have an individual goal, which says, like in this case, the vengeance is complete your primary goal with at least one other player killed. So even though you're good, you're going to try to kill another player. And it could be any player. It could be a menace or it could be another crew. So it's going to have you act in a different way than you normally would. However, you as an individual have to have both of these met in order to win, which means sometimes you could be the only player winning. Sometimes there could be multiple players winning. Now the menaces, they, again, as I showed you, need to have the oxygen level to 0, but they have no individual goal. Now once a player has the 3 character cards, they're going to secretly look at these 3, they're going to choose one of them to keep, and they'll keep it face up just like you see on the table. Now you'll be selecting your character based on a few things. One is the types of abilities that they have, which we'll go over more in detail later. Also, each character is going to get some more below the deck action cards. Now if you remember, if you have an agenda card, that is the crew, you're also going to have an individual goal, and you might want to pick one that has abilities that go well with your goal. Also, if you remember, you got a specific deck of below the deck action cards that came with your agenda. Well, each character also comes with these. So after you select your character card, you're also, from the box that we have set up in the inserts, are going to get these cards. For example, 2 brawl, 1 basic repair, 2 replicate, and 2 backstab. You'll take those and you'll shuffle them into the deck that you already had made earlier from the cards in your agenda. This will be your draw deck. The game is played over multiple rounds. Each round has 3 phases: the action phase, the resolution phase, and the accusation phase. Let's go into these different phases and show you how they work. In the action phase, starting with the mission leader and going clockwise, each player has one of 3 choices. You can either draw a card, play a card, or use an above the deck ability action from your character. Let's go over all these in detail. When you play a below the deck action card, it goes down in front of you face down so no one knows what you've played. Then it'll be the next player's turn. Now a different action, instead of playing a card, is to draw a card. And to do that, you just simply draw the top card off the top of your deck into your hand. You do have a hand limit of 4 cards. If you ever get more than 4 cards when you're drawing your card, you immediately discard a card of your choice to the discard pile. Very important, all cards discarded here for any reason always goes face down. The last possible action you can do on your turn is an above the deck action, and that's using one of the special abilities on your character. We're going to go over how these work in just a moment. Next, you move on to the resolution phase. The mission leader will take all the cards in front of all the players that played in that round, shuffle them up and place them in one deck. Now there needs to be at least an amount of cards equal to half of the amount of players. So for example, in a 6-player game, there needs to be at least 3 cards here. In this case, we have 4. If there were not, you would then fill into this from the Emma deck. So let's say, for example, there were only 2 cards. Well, with a 6-player game, you need at least 3 cards. So we would put 1 card from the Emma deck face down here, and then you would shuffle that deck. So let's say the first card is Raise Morale. This is a good card because it moves oxygen up. Now, even though there's 2 arrows here, you just move it once because there's only 1 oxygen icon, so it moves it up. That's good because it's giving oxygen, to the ship. So that's a really good thing. That's why this is a good card. Let's look at this one. This is an airlock breach, and it is considered a bad card because it moves oxygen down. So those two essentially sort of cancel each other out this round. Let's say someone played an advanced repair card. Now this is a good card because it moves energy up 2. However, this has a cost. What this means is that oxygen actually has to go down first. So in this case, this would go down, and then the energy would go up 2. Now usually you're just flipping this over in a single deck. I have the cards in the different spots of the board to more easily illustrate how they work. Let's say the last card was an explosion. It's a bad card and it moves energy down 2. Now, so that those sort of cancel each other out. Also, when moving energy up, it says it right here that the energy cannot go up more than 5 increments each resolution phase, which is what we're going through now. These next cards all cause wounds, so I'm going to go over them at the same time. Each unwounded crew member who played a below the deck action card receives a wound. So what are wounds? Any player that receives a wound takes one of these cards from the top of the deck, puts it in front of them face up. For example, brain damage. This would stay face up and it says, hey, as long as you have this wound, you must repeat the action type of the previous crew member this round, whether they do an above the deck special ability action, a below the deck card play, or a draw, for example. Now, if you ever get a second wound and you still have that wound at the end of the round, you are killed. Now, during the round, if you get a second wound, certain things that we'll show you later will help you heal a wound. And again, if you heal that before the end of the round, you're not killed. But at the end of the round, if you still have 2, you are killed. Another thing that can kill you is if you have no cards in your draw deck and you have none in your hand and it's the start of your turn, you're killed then as well. Now, if you're killed, you flip over your agenda card so everyone can see who you were. And then if you were a crew, a good guy, and you're killed, the penalty is oxygen. Because this is red, it means that oxygen will go down 2. So you would immediately affect that on the board. However, if you were a menace, the killed bonus is nothing. Also keep in mind that if you are killed, you still can win if you meet your victory conditions. Let's talk about how the abilities work with the above the deck actions. They are pretty self-explanatory, so we're not going to go over all of them, but some of them do have a cost, and if so, you just pay that. In this case, if you on your turn, you can select to regenerate, you would pay 1 oxygen, meaning that oxygen goes down 1 on the board, and in this case, you could remove a wound from yourself. Hey, we talked about saving yourself, this is the way you do it. You would take this card and just remove it from the game. Or you could deflect. The next time this round a crew member would receive a wound, you may redirect that wound to a different crew member. So after you've gone through the action phase and the resolution phase, we go to the accusation phase. And here's where you just discuss any suspicions. And if someone wants to call a vote to try to exile someone, they essentially would grab this voting pistol and hold it up. And essentially this means that there's going to be a vote. And once someone takes that, it's mandatory a vote has to happen. There could be some final evidence of words of defense, or counter accusations may occur briefly. But essentially pretty closely after someone grabs that, they're going to count down 3, 2, 1, and everyone's going to vote. Now each player can either point at another player or make a fist, which is abstaining. Now if the player has a majority of the people pointing at them, meaning they voted for them, they are exiled, they must flip their agenda. Now if you're exiled, you flip this over. If you're a good guy, the crew, the exile penalty is you would lose 3 oxygen, so you must make the oxygen go down on the board by 3. However, if you exiled a menace, a bad person, you actually get a bonus. You'd gain 2 oxygen, putting it up 2 on the board. Now, if a player is exiled, when it's their turn, they cannot take any of these above the deck actions. They can, however, submit cards face down and still, influence the results of the round. They also cannot call for a vote or vote on anybody. Now these rounds will continue until a few possible things happen. If the oxygen ever gets to 0, which is right here, the game ends immediately and the menaces have won. Everyone flips up their agenda cards and sees who won. Also, if all of the crew have been killed, the menaces also win immediately. Now if at the end of the round the energy is at 100%, then the players that are the crew have the opportunity to win. Meaning if you're playing the basic game, all the crew win, even if you've died. Otherwise, you must look at your individual goal. In this case, this player had to complete this primary goal, which is having the energy get there, and at least killing 1 other player. If they did that, then they would win with the crew there. If they did not get their individual goal, even though the energy got here, they wouldn't win in the advanced game. Now, if the menace players are all killed, the menace players can still win by making the oxygen go to 0. However, if they are all killed, the crew can win as long as the energy is past this line. by the end of the round. And again, that's when all the menaces are killed. They just have to have it past this line. But also keep in mind, if you're playing the advanced game, they also have to have completed their primary goal to win on the crew side. All right, first of all, the game has cool art that captures that sci-fi theme. It just has that look and feel that fits the game, it fits what you're trying to do, and I liked all the different sort of cartoony type of characters in the game. The game has simplified rules, which I really appreciate. Think of this as, I've heard this called Battlestar Galactica in an hour or less. I would even call this Dark Moon Light. Now, Dark Moon came out and it was, it used to be Battlestar Galactica Express, like a light version of Battlestar Galactica that was renamed and actually came out as Dark Moon. I'm calling this Dark Moon Light because it has that same feeling of Dark Moon where, you can, instead of quarantining, you can exile them. You're trying to figure out who's good. People are doing things that it's hard to tell who's doing what, and you never have really perfect information, but it's very streamlined. Play a card, draw a card, or do a special action. That's it. Where Dark Moon has just a little bit more going on. It's a lot harder to teach. This game is so easy to teach. Play a card, draw a card, or do a special action. But yet, it keeps the fundamentals of that intrigue in the game, and I like how it does that in such streamlined mechanisms. It does that great because all the cards are being shuffled, and because you don't ever really get to know for sure. Some cards might let you look at other players' cards that they've played and stuff, but it does a really good job of creating that intrigue where you'll have suspicions about players, but you'll really never know for sure. That it brings up really good conversations and it really brings a game to, ratchets up the tension in the game. The different agendas are cool because not only do you have to, with the advanced game, have to, make your team win if you're good, but you also have that individual goal. Think sort of, Dead of Winter. But I think this obviously plays a very different game, a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot more streamlined, but it has that aspect of that where you've got to get this special goal that makes you act in ways that you normally wouldn't. Like if you're good and you have the agenda where you have to kill at least one other player, you're going to be giving players wounds and they're going to be thinking you're bad, but you're really not. You might get exiled because of that. It's cool how they sort of all those agendas work together like that. And I like that once you have your agenda, you get to select your character, which you can see what cards of the decks will go in there, so you know whether it's like good, neutral, or bad. And you also get to look at the abilities that will help you get your individual goal or your team goal. And I like that you get to select that character when you're doing that. It gives you some strategy right up front. And I like when a lot of players there's not enough cards in there, that Emma deck comes out, which has a little bit of everything, but it's mostly slanted towards the good side. But as the deck goes through and as players are playing, if a lot of good cards are coming up and there's just a couple of people playing cards and you're like, ooh, at some point that Emma deck's going to start playing bad stuff. We better start playing some more cards. So it's an interesting way of making sure there's enough action going on each round. So overall, I really enjoyed the game. The only negative I can really say here is the amount of setup and takedown time. There's a decent amount with making sure all the agendas have the right cards, which you can do both before and after the game, and then getting all the cards for the characters and then putting them all back in the box afterwards. There's a decent amount of setup and takedown time, but if everybody works together, we all thought, well, you know what, it wasn't that bad. It's definitely worth the experience. So overall, if you're looking for one of those hidden intrigue, hidden role with special private goals, if you're looking for that type of a game and you want it to be very streamlined, easy to teach, play in an hour or less, this is the king of those, I'd say. And this is The Menace Among Us. Did you miss the Game Topper 2.0 Kickstarter? Have no fear, it's not too late to get in on the ultimate gaming accessory. Convert your table into a high-quality gaming table with a fully portable Game Topper system and take advantage of some of the best 3mm premium gaming mats in the industry. New styles, new sizes, and new accessories can be yours. Upgrade every game you play by late backing now at GameToppersLLC.com.